The future of Berserk is probably in its most unknown, most vaguely mysterious phase it has ever been in. This is for many reasons, primarily being Guts' destroyed mentality, the new lands and therefore rules, magic and customs of the Kushan Empire, Griffith's motives and Casca's imprisonment. My own thoughts, or at least hopes for the future for our hero and his blood-soaked path to freedom, consists of one hovering wish: total or at least near mastery of emotion. This idea was formed after reading the latest chapter and has been supported by emerging theories and explanations of the happenings of Guts and what he may be facing in the stupa. Although the original title of Genshitsu refers more to a dark room, translation and implications of Southeast Asian influence of the story resulted in the conclusion of a stupa. A stupa is a famously religious structure in Buddhist culture focused on reflection of the soul and meditation, housing relics and items of worship. So naturally, everyone expects a self-reflection arc, but what would this actually consist of? Guts is someone who has evolved over the years he's been struggling, overcoming countless mental battles as well as physical. After the eclipse, bloodlust and revenge suffocated his mind more than anything, poisoning his desires and trampling over the development he had experienced during the Golden Age, the connections of those people decimated due to Griffith's actions. Naturally, hate would brew within Guts, letting his wrath out as a monstrous black swordsman, whilst not evil as he hunted apostles, destroyed himself in the process, licking away at the remaining humanity within. What developed from this psychosis and unhealthy obsession was the Beast of Darkness. Now, whilst treated as a darkness within Guts that is only animated during severe hallucinations or demon intervention, Guts begins to fight against its influence, those whispers that tempt him into slaughter, indiscriminate and constant. It is still Guts, just another part of his psyche, a collection of all the darkness that developed through his trauma and rage. After talking with Godo in one of, if not the best passages of all Berserk, the thing about hatred, it's the place where people who can't look sorrow in the eye without wavering run off to. Guts devotes himself to protecting Casca, moving away from his journey of revenge for one of protection. The Beast of Darkness remains attached to him, manifesting many times, such as his assault of Casca, which to me is easily the darkest and most disgusting moment of Guts' entire life. It is unforgivable. He was not possessed by anything other than his own issues, fueled by lustful or longing memories of Casca's sanity, and the Beast of Darkness is drawn to represent the magnitude of Guts' malice. The main point of his character is that he is imperfect and struggles as internally as he does externally. Time passes and he somewhat tames his beast with sharing the burden, however it is once again unlocked through the Berserker armor, and this is where I arrive at the point of the video. There is a coming war, that much is basically guaranteed. However, Guts is significantly too underpowered currently to even tickle Griffith or his demons in my opinion. He would have been fried by Grumbeld if the battle continued, or eaten alive by the armor without Shirkei's help, and the other generals scale similarly in different aspects, so a power up is needed. Shirkei can keep the armor at bay from clouding his mind, but she cannot be relied on all the time and is only an amateur, meaning Guts must achieve it himself. This I think would be beneficial to implement right now in the story. The setup seems perfect. Guts could master his emotions, tame the Beast of Darkness in his deep reflection, and emerge a master of the armor, unlocking a further power that has never been achieved due to the inherent cursed nature of the armor feeding off animalistic lust and wrath. Skull Knight is practically confirmed to have died in the armor, and Guts is considered a parallel of his character in many ways, with the Eclipse, foe of the Inhumans, user of the Berserker armor, lone wanderer, but Guts mastering the armor before he died would separate him from Skull Knight's destiny, disproving Zod's eerie conclusion that he will follow him down the same path into hell, and proving why Guts is the struggler, defier of destiny. The armor itself physically manifests the Beast of Darkness that wishes to consume Guts, even though originally Shirkei claims that whoever aligns with the ominous flow of Ode dwelling within the armor is the key to achieving the savage nature. I believe that the story Miura wanted to tell promotes the need to control emotions and remain human. Guts' character arc throughout the Black Swordsman to Fantasia is all about that, and magic is a highly subjective and vaguely explained topic within Berserk, and that's without including the Kushan side of things. I have seen countless theories that Guts will let the armor consume him and be brought back by the Moonlight Child, but I just don't think that is in line with Guts' character arc. He is the struggler and wants to be in control of his own actions and not give in to the lust of power. Miura himself said that he doubts he could make such a grim story end grimly as well, and although that was years ago, I doubt Miura's wishes changed that drastically. Hana, the smith who crafted it, mentions that mastering the armor is different from using it in chapter 361, which does suggest there is an achievable level of avoiding consumption and using it to its utmost efficiency, as Gedfring also questions what Guts' fury will do on the verge of death. Guts is arguably on the verge of death right now. He is hopeless and accepts his death at the hands of Rakshas before being saved. His suffering has paralyzed his rage, leaving a husk of the warrior before. The stupa is explained as a burial ground by Daiba, which is what they evolved from. However, I read it to be more metaphorical in the sense that it will be an ego death. There are clearly magical elements surrounding the stupa being opened through hand incantations, so it's safe to say Guts will find something within the confines of this stone structure. My perfect berserk would follow up with a thorough and difficult struggle, the memories of Guts' life converging with the animalistic apparition of the Beast of Darkness. Berserk famously uses silent reflection for Guts' development, usually when he is training, such as at Godo's or on Elf Island. This and his fighting in the moment allow him to gain perspective. However, right now he has lost more than ever, with no strength to rely on, no rage or wrath, no ambition, no will. I want Guts to fight against the temptations of the beast, taming it rather than killing it fully, as complete eradication would cause a loss of intrigue in his character due to them only being manifestations of his darker thoughts. But there can be a shift, enforcing a more positive mindset to train his thoughts to support rather than mock or taunt when he fails. Perhaps he subdues it after being reminded why he fights, who he fights for. Maybe visions of Casca in Falconia find his mind through Shirkei's scouting. We all know his flame will be rekindled, it just needs to be through his own determination, another "I'll never lose her again" moment. But instead of changing his ultimate overall desires, as these are practically solidified, live peacefully with Casca and be happy, he needs to conquer his erectile dysfunction when comparing schlongs with Griffith. The trauma of Griffith's monumental difference in power is what put Guts into this psychosis, as Griffith's pay-to-win methods have a far higher ceiling than a human can achieve through years of cutting-edge training. That is the current issue Guts has been facing. Before passing out on the boat, the beast taunts him for those puny human limitations that Guts has always been proud of. To be human is far greater than a demon. So let's say Guts goes through this self-reflection arc, understanding himself that results in a spiritual evolution of sorts. Buy your Evo Guts in the Clash Royale shop today for only $19.99 and your first 3 children. He comes out of the stupa and his stupor with a face of reborn determination. Realistically, to win, we need hacks. We've got all the mages, but they aren't as powerful following Elf Island's destruction, meaning Shirkei and Daiba are probably the strongest magic users remaining. Guts, Silat, Serpico and Skull Knight would be the only ones able to kill apostles at a stretch, with Guts and Skull Knight focusing on the stronger ones such as Grumbeld and Locus. If the two clashing armies could somehow whittle down the other sides, leaving the main players to scrap it out. I have no idea how, but Casca must be saved and returned to the battlefield. Using magic, anything can realistically be possible, but Griffith would have to get the brakes beaten off him by both Casca and Guts first. After the world transformation, Griffith caused all planes of existence to overlap, meaning there probably are not 2 versions of him existing at any given time, just one main body. However, Berserk is not a story of happiness and easy victories. The drawback of killing Griffith would be killing their son in the process. I have mentioned this thought before. Could there be a more grueling or painful process for Casca and Guts at the edge of the world, killing their biggest enemy, but also the physical proof of their love? Bittersweet victory, bloodstained and broken, but evil vanquished. I want Casca to be the one to kill Griffith, revenge on her abuser, but perhaps after her and Guts have beaten the living daylights out of Griffith, she cannot do it, or Griffith's weak state allows for the transformation of the Moonlight Boy, and Guts with a heavy heart takes the burden once more, killing Griffith and their beloved child. Or the child who possesses far greater powers and understanding that is plausible for a child that age might choose to end things himself and jump from a cliff, or just something to end his life to allow his parents to avoid the need. This probably won't happen, but the thing is with writing a story is that you write what you want to read, which is why so many biases creep in with what people want to happen, including me. I doubt it will be a victory without cost. When has Berserk ever sniffed that area of storytelling? But Griffith has to go in order for the two to live in any semblance of peace. His death might also release the effects of the brand, which would be another positive to the colossal loss of their child. So who knows, I might just be rambling, but I try to base my bias somewhat on the story that has been told. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and I think it will be a monster video next as it's about goddamn time. But until then, peace out.